Welcome back to the Roll-Up High Roller community. As always, nothing on the roll-up is to be construed as financial advice. We are just some educators in the DeFi space. Toss us a quick like, give us a share, a repost, send it to a friend who may want to watch this, and finally, give us a sub or a follow. It means the world to help support credibly neutral educational content in DeFi. We're here to educate, empower, and enrich you, and let's jump in. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Roll-Up. As our ventures into Cosmos have led us into many of fruitful vibes, good people, and fun times. And today, we're here with Rebecca of Saga. Saga's just announced their airdrop criteria. Tons of different people involved. Obviously, the OG Cosmos participants. We're going to dive into that, what the community can expect, gaming on Cosmos, some ways to get active in the ecosystem. So, Rebecca, it's been about a week since the launch of the Medium post detailing the Saga token. Sure, it's been hectic.
It has been hectic. But thanks so much for having me, Andy, Robbie. I love the Roll-Up. An amazing source of information. You have great guests on here. So I'm very happy to be here and spend some time with y'all. It's been hectic. We did not expect the response that we got from our airdrop eligibility criteria, but I guess when you activate 5 different crypto ecosystems, all of whom are quite large in their own right, then yes, you get a lot of activity. But it's been great. It's been great hearing from everyone.
Yeah, I think one of the best things, like the best trend that we started seeing crypto, obviously for users, but just also for products adoption, is this kind of strategy of like wide drops, but not necessarily, massive monetary size. Obviously, it's up to the market to kind of dictate that. But when you can bring all these different communities in, right, then that automatically opens up your kind of net of users and interest, and it becomes like one of the best marketing strategies available. Help people come onto the community, airdrop, all different types of communities, and all of a sudden you've got this. Yeah, people from Avalanche, Polygon, Cosmos, all talking about what you guys are building. So I'd love to hear more about kind of how you saw through that strategy and some insights for those builders who are listening, which are getting ready to launch, and like some insights onto how they could do their own job.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're absolutely right, Andy, that a lot of people are dropping to various different ecosystems. But my word of advice is, if at all possible, form relationships with those ecosystems ahead of time. If someone randomly gets an offer for an airdrop from an ecosystem they're not really familiar with, or maybe they've never even heard of, it's not all that effective because people aren't going to claim, or maybe they'll get the tokens in their wallets if it's an automatic airdrop, but they don't really know what to do with it. They won't use a token, they'll probably dump it, etc. So the relationships with the ecosystems are incredibly important. And every single ecosystem that we are dropping to is someone that we have been working with for over a year at least. So first and foremost, we prioritize Cosmos. And so Atom wallets that are eligible are far and away greater than that for any other ecosystem. I think it's double that for basically anything that's available for the others. And no surprise, Saga is a Cosmos chain. We are based on the Cosmos SDK. All of the chains that are stood up on Saga, which are called chainlets, they are also Cosmos chains in their own right. And so we use a lot of the Cosmos stack. And we really come from the Cosmos community. And so, of course, they would receive the lion's share of the airdrop. Celestia, also a huge partner of ours. Around this time last year, actually, was when we announced our partnership with them, where we're doing automated, decentralized roll-ups for Celestia. And so, of course, we would want to acknowledge that partnership and drop to the TIA community as well. It's a younger chain, and so the criteria is very different for their stakers. But nevertheless, we definitely wanted to include them. The next major partnership that came last year was with Polygon. And at the time, we were automating Polygon supernets, so the instantiation of those supernets. Now, Polygon has since deprecated supernets. Now they're more focused on CDK chains, and so we're automating CDK chains, but it's a very long and fruitful partnership there. And then came Avalanche. So Avalanche has subnets, and we automate subnets. So definitely wanted to thank that community. We also work together very closely on gaming projects, especially those who are looking to scale to multiple subnets. So we definitely wanted to include them as well. And then Solana, there are actually quite a number of games that are building cross-chain Solana and Saga. And we have always loved how open the Solana Foundation has been about games that are building multi-chain. And so their mantra has always been follow the developer, and ours has been that as well. So if a developer wants to go multi-chain, absolutely they should have the ability to do that. And so Solana has always said, well, if we're Xbox, let's say, and you guys are mobile or vice versa, then that's great. It's just different mediums for the games, but it's still the same game. And so we're going to run play to airdrop tournaments with Solana in order to reward their community members for playing those games. So yes, it's a very broad airdrop, but like you said, Andy, it's quite targeted as well.
Yeah, well, great. Thank you for the explanation. And I'm curious if there are plans for upcoming games that are going to be building. Can't exactly remember the term, but like talk us through the structure of how games will be built using Saga, how it kind of works on the briefing, the tech side, and then if there's any kind of upcoming games or plans that you're specifically excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. So Saga is a layer 1 to launch layer 1s. So we are a layer 1 in our own right. And every single application that gets launched on Saga is by definition its own layer 1 or several layer 1s. So everything that gets launched on Saga gets launched into what we call a chainlet. It is a fully provisioned chain in its own right. So it has all the elements of a chain, the DA layer, settlement execution consensus, and of course, all the RPC endpoints, dedicated block explorers, et cetera. It's a fully provisioned chain. And this is all automated on Saga. So for any application, including games that are building on us, first they deploy the chain, which you can now do through our web app. It takes a couple minutes, honestly, and that's it. And then you can deploy any smart contracts that you want out there. Now, we are EVM first. So right now, everyone is writing their applications in Solidity, but we are VM agnostic at the end of the day. So we're hearing a lot of demand for SVM. We have a community member in Eclipse who's building that. We have some demand for Cosmos, always because of Cosmos. And we have several ecosystem partners that are building the WASM VMs that are Tendermint compatible. We have Move VMs, JavaScript VMs, et cetera. So the idea is to give the developer whatever environment they're most comfortable building in so they can go ahead and deploy their applications. In terms of games, so we are focused on gaming and entertainment, even though we're a general purpose infrastructure. And the games that we're excited about, oh God, there are probably too many to count. Our innovator program has currently 314 projects in it. And so it's quite a vast ecosystem. I will say some of the games that we featured so far in our Play to Airdrop campaign include things like Another World, Bullyverse, Tally Up, Fab Belt is coming up, Zuraverse, Blood Loop, Bushi, et cetera. And so it's quite an exciting time.
Amazing.
What do you think has held back gaming from really from Web3 really activating gaming up until this point? Has it been scalability? Like, has it been like what if there are a couple like key terms that kind of come to mind as far as why gaming has kind of been this thing that's been talked about for so long, but we haven't really seen it stick on chain? Like, why do you think that is?
So you're hitting on one of the key reasons. There's really two things: it's scalability and cost. So we always say that the dynamic with gaming and entertainment, frankly, so you see this with massive NFT collections as well, is that you have incredibly high volume of transactions, but each transaction value is actually relatively low. So in gaming, all of us are probably gamers here. We know that we've been spoiled with the free-to-play model. And unless you actually want to elevate your experience and buy in-game assets, for instance, most of the time you expect a game to be entirely free and frictionless to play. And so that generates a massive amount of transactions. And really, for most games out there that have like moderate success in terms of DAUs or MAUs, a single chain cannot accommodate that. So scalability has been a huge issue. The other piece of it is the cost. So I hit on it already that most users are expecting to enter into a game for free anyway. And so when you have a gas token that a player needs to pay in order to access the game or to pay for assets, then the friction becomes too great, honestly. And we have to remember that for gaming, at the end of the day, the reason why gaming and entertainment are usually lumped together is that you're doing it for fun. So you're doing it for a little bit of escape. You're doing it to chat with your friends online, etc. And so it needs to be the best possible user experience. And it doesn't take much for a gamer to walk away. This is true in Web3, but it's also true in wider gaming. I mean, even if you didn't have any sort of Web3 mechanics, if you had any sort of complicated login system for your game, if you have a bunch of ads that you're obligated to show for your game because that is what the App Store or Google Play or whatnot are obligating you to do, then people are going to walk away. There are so many points at which a user can leave. And I think for Web3 so far, there have just been too many of those points in order for the sector to really take off.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, agreed. Scalability and cost can put into one and the same, wherein they both kind of go hand in hand as obviously part of the blockchains and just overall gaming. Like I said, so many transactions, just the smallest things. So I'm curious how your model aims to kind of solve some of those, right? So developers are coming to use Saga to launch a chain to run a game. Are you guys to be a hub for gaming with your technology? Are these games going to launch chains with in-game assets? Are they going to launch tokens? Kind of like what's the tech and the incentive model look like for games that launch through Saga?
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of scalability, I would say there is no such system that scales completely, endlessly, and infinitely. But I would say we come pretty close. So what we use is Cosmos interchain security. But having said that, we have a very, very different implementation from the hub. So the general idea is the same, which is that every single time a developer is looking to deploy onto a chainlet, then we are replicating ourselves. So there's a Saga mainnet that is secured by a set of validators. And every time we spin up a chainlet, then we are spinning up a chain that has the exact same validator set and the exact same security model as our mainnet. So that part of interchain security is the same. However, it's permissionless. So anytime you want a chainlet, you get a chainlet, provided you can pay for it. There is no governance. You don't have to talk to the foundation. You don't need to talk to anyone, really. You can spin up a chainlet if you want. The second piece is the economic model is very, very different from the hub. So with the hub, because the hub already has the Atom token, it structures itself a very different way in order to incentivize the validators to run a consumer chain. So for us, we aim to commoditize block space. We think that a chain should become like a server. It should become like an AWS instance where for most developers, they have these things kind of lying around, even if they're not really developing actively on them because they're relatively cheap. And you can just, kind of keep it there for your purposes until you need it again. That's the vision that our CTO has with respect to the chains. So in terms of the scalability, first of all, developing on your own chain is the most performance system possible. So on our system, not only are you by definition always on your own chain, because we are built on Cosmos, everything comes equipped with Cosmos IBC, which means that all the chainlets speak to one another, which means that you can have one game or one application on multiple chains and have it all feel like the same game. So if you notice that your user traffic is increasing, then you just start to stand up additional chainlets for your particular game. Once you see that user traffic is kind of dwindling a little bit, then you can compress state down to the chains that you actually want to keep and then kill the rest. So it elastically scales, in other words. Again, we take a lot of inspiration from cloud. I think that a lot of developers have really benefited from the cloud way of deploying their applications. And we felt that in Web3, there was no such experience, but we needed to bring that to Web3 developers. So that's in terms of just the scalability. Now, in terms of the cost, as I mentioned, we're aiming to commoditize block space. Most systems out there will run an option among the developers like Polkadot in order to try to increase the cost of all the chains that are stood up, even for most rollups, honestly, because they are their own sort of dedicated block space and they're not spinning up dedicated block space per application. People are still sharing that block space, and therefore the cost will go up as more of that block space is used, as there's greater traffic. So for us, we always felt that we needed to get to a place of abundance. So developers need to be able to spin up these things and not think too much about the cost. So we run an auction among our validators instead in order to get them to price as close to their true cost as possible for providing security. And that's what we've accomplished so far. So right now we're clocking in at about $500 per chainlet per month, which, given that there are no other fees in the system, is probably the most affordable way to develop. We do not charge gas directly to the end user ever. And we leave it entirely up to the developers to determine how they would like to monetize. They can make their games or any application entirely gasless. We do not recommend that because it opens you up to DDoS attacks. But if you wanted to, that is an option. For those who are trying to keep their applications entirely free, but they want to use a token as a gating mechanism to stop those attacks, then we have the concept of recycle tokens, where it's kind of like an arcade where you get a bunch of tokens or tickets upon entry. You use those to play the games, and then when you're done, you return the tokens. So that is how we have made our system entirely free for the user from the get-go.
Very interesting. So if I'm bullish on Saga as a hypothetical airdrop recipient or buyer, staking Saga could theoretically lead me to exposure to tons of really kick-ass games. And if one of these games becomes a hit, there could be some really cool value creation for those OG holders as well as players, and just kind of participants in that system, which is exciting.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. Yeah. No, that's absolutely right. I mean, especially with our Play to Airdrop campaign, what we're noticing is that, so the whole idea behind Play to Airdrop is pretty simple, which is that the players play the games and then the leaderboards get airdrops of Saga tokens. That's it. Now, with so many games also coming out with their own tokens, these players are actually getting double airdrops. So they're getting an airdrop of the games token, maybe some giveaways from the games as well in terms of NFTs, and they're also getting airdrops of the Saga token. This is a model that has been proven to be very effective for user acquisition. That's the whole reason why we did it to begin with, was to sponsor user acquisition for our games. We first debuted it at Saga Advent, the 25 Days of Christmas last year, and now we're in season 2 with the 3 kingdoms, Avax, Polygon, and Solana. And it's something that I think, because it's been proven so effective, the games are going to want to continue. So you're absolutely right, Andy. Holding a Saga token means you get access to a lot of other cool assets in the Saga ecosystem.
And Saga you said it's built with Cosmos SDK, so it's going to have a similar model to the rest of the Cosmos coins in terms of the staking and validating. Is that correct?
Yeah,
or is there a different model?
That's right. No, it's very similar. Staking, validating, yeah, it's based on Tendermint consensus, and then staking mechanism is pretty much the same.
I think we know what we're going to be doing with our Saga tokens if we are recipients. Who knows if we are not, or what's going on.
Yeah, one other tip I'll give you is, in addition to getting access to all of these game tokens for the games that are building on us, this is not the only airdrop we're doing as part of mainnet launch. So mainnet launch is 6 phases. Phase 1 is Genesis, and that will probably hit early March. But there are phases 2 through 6 still, and each one will be associated with an airdrop. And just a hint that if you decide to stake your Saga token, I think good things can happen.
Based. Rob, as we kind of come to a close, I'm sure you've got something for us. What do you got for us, Rob?
I find it so funny that Vitalik created Ethereum because his in-game assets got nerfed by a centralized entity.
Yeah. Most people are here in Web3 gaming because something about traditional gaming pissed them off. So whether it's their in-game assets being taken away, or for a lot of these games, honestly, their expansion relies on mods. So not social mods in the way that we understand it, but people who actually modify the game. So this is how Fortnite grows, honestly. This is how Roblox grows. And more and more gamers are expecting to become creators and to be treated like creators. And so they want to take their intellectual property and truly own it and monetize it across multiple different communities and ecosystems, wherever they're influential, basically. And Web3 is very, very well suited to this. So yeah, I mean, people who truly believe in Web3 gaming and are trying to build out this space, that is what they're motivated by. So yeah, I think that we'll see some very, very cool technology come out of that anchor.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very, very cool. Rob and I appreciate the information and just kind of shedding some light to the community. I think the community is going to be eager for the Genesis. Early March sounds like forever in crypto. So we've got some fun things planned up till then. And then I think like the multiple stages of launch is the way to do it, because theoretically and realistically, the launch is just the beginning. I mean, all the work that you've done up to this point is like the pre-launch, like, after the launch comes all the hard work. So I hope you don't work too hard. And I know that the Cosmos community is excited to have, sort of a gaming hub, right? Like I think that you guys will lead the way for Cosmos and in terms of gaming. And, I think that the app chain model and what you're saying with like the scalable chains, kind of thinking about block space in an abundant way. And this idea of like being able to turn and turn off chains is like, we're really starting to cross the chasm here from not just like creating new coins in crypto, like we're creating new operating systems. We're creating new places to conduct commerce, to conduct gaming, and kind of this era of abundant block space, I think is going to bring a ton more innovation in different sectors, which is going to allow crypto to kind of really seek more into that. What is the use case question? Well, here is the use case, right? And so, this is very exciting.
Yeah, no, it's super exciting. And I do think that, the way that different technologies are ultimately birthed and then grow, it's based on a lot of the activity that we've seen so far. So it's in the early adopters, the true believers who have stayed in the space, who've done a great deal of research and developed the technology, even though the users may not be there yet. But I think we're at the point now where we're ready for mass adoption. And in order for that to happen, the technology really needs to not just be really cool technology, but also be a product that, well, in our case, the developers can actually use to build their applications and then make applications that people will in turn want to use. And the reason why we bet on gaming and entertainment as our go-to-market is not only is it something that really badly needs this kind of infrastructure, so it needs its own dedicated block space. It needs to keep costs as absolutely low as possible. But we think that for most people who are not yet in Web3, the cultural aspect is what is going to bring them into Web3 over and above any sort of financial services. DeFi will always be at the heart of crypto. It is the lifeblood of crypto. But I think with NFTs, with really cool games, with customized skins and self-expression, that's where you'll get the majority of Gen Z, millennials, and now we're seeing alphas as well. So super excited for this year, and I think in many ways it'll be the year that we cross the Rubicon for crypto.
Awesome.
You guys still there?
Yeah.
I thought Rob was going to say something. He looked like he was moving towards the mute button, but I think we both agree, and we appreciate your time and your enthusiasm. Anyway, we echo a lot of these points, and look forward to keeping tabs on Saga, and really excited for the Genesis shop as well as the continued successes of different games, and hope to see a big hit or a handful of them.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you guys so much for having me on. And thank you again for doing this amazing podcast and being such a great service to the community. I do think that there will be quite a number of hits on Saga. And I do think that sometimes, Web3 gaming can feel like the traditional gaming space really beats up on them. Sometimes it's deserved. But other times, I think it's important to remember that even mobile gaming is in many ways considered the ugly stepchild in gaming, because a mobile game will never win Game of the Year at the Game Awards, for instance. It's not pretty enough, it's not cinematic or immersive enough, but nevertheless, everybody knows that mobile gaming is where most of the money is made. And I think most of us who have phones, which is all of us, we play some form of game on there. And so, I think, hits come in many shapes and sizes. It can be a really addictive mobile game. It can be something like a Call of Duty. But I think that people should keep an open mind. And at the end of the day, what you find fun, that doesn't lie. That's the kicker.
Shax, thank you so much, Rebecca. And keep building.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much.
Cheers.